Hello, beautiful souls. My name is Ian Ramon. I'm from Romania. I have been a web designer for several years until I actually went to a conference on healing with Dr. Eric Pearl. Dr. Eric Pearl, he is renewed international speaker, author, and a pioneer into a whole new level of healing. And I'm happy to be here with Dr. Eric at Ljubljana in the middle of seminars. And welcome. It's a nice pleasure to be here and share some of the insights.
Thank you for having me on your program.
Good. Would you please tell us how, from a chiropractor, normal doctor practice, you actually become known for miraculous healings or healings that are not normally explained?
Well, there were a few strange incidents that happened. I was awakened one night by a bright light. I opened my eyes to see what it was. It wasn't anything seemingly spiritual or metaphysical. It was just the lamp next to my bed for some reason turned itself on. And it felt as if I had been being watched while I was asleep, that someone was in my home. So I got up feeling, why don't we just say, a little brave and a little nervous. And I went hunting through the house with a knife and a can of pepper spray and my Doberman pinscher. I couldn't find anyone, so after about 15 or 20 minutes, I told myself it must be my imagination, and I went back to sleep. But on that Monday, when I went into my office to see my patients, I would adjust them, as I always did as a chiropractor. I would finish with them lying on their back, have them close their eyes and relax to allow the adjustment to settle into place. And I noticed that day I was feeling odd sensations in my hands. And as I would move my hands, I would see their eyes would rapidly dart back and forth. I'd see little muscles involuntarily move in their forehead, pulling at their eyebrows or pulling here around their mouth and their lips. When they opened their eyes, they told me they were seeing colors they'd never seen before, smelling flowers they'd never smelled before. They said they felt hands resting on them or gently stroking them comfortably. They said they felt my hands, and they started reporting healings, real healings. They were getting up out of wheelchairs and walking, some of them. Vision and hearing was returning. Patients were coming in showing laboratory results a few days later where their cancer tumors had disappeared. Some children with cerebral palsy or epilepsy were suddenly able to walk and run and play and speak normally, not have seizures, not need medications. Of course, this didn't happen with every single person, just like with medicine. Nothing happens 100% of the time with 100% of the people 100% the same way. But it happens to such a significant degree, such a significant number of people were being affected by this, that we soon began to recognize that something real was taking place. People started calling me up, asking me what I had done. My patients' doctors were calling me up, asking me what I had done. I said I didn't do anything and don't tell anybody. Of course, the more I said that, the more everyone wanted to experience it also. And soon people started asking me to teach this. And I said, teach it? You've got to be insane. I can't teach something like this. I'm standing here, I'm waving my hands in the air, feeling things. I mean, you go outside, wave your hands in the air, let me know what your neighbors have to say about you. But my patients would call me, and they'd say, when I drove home after my session with you, I got in front of my house, and before I could hit the little button to open the garage door, the automatic garage door opened by itself. Or I walked inside, and my lamp or computer started turning itself off and on and off and on. I felt sensations in my hands. I held my hands near someone in my family, and my grandfather could walk after the stroke, or my uncle regained his hearing. And that's when we began to recognize that once we interact with this more comprehensive spectrum of healing frequencies, what science today refers to as the reconnective healing spectrum, that something changes within us that not only allows us to receive our own healings, but allows us to bring about or facilitate healings for others.
Okay, so basically, what would be the difference between this healing? We could not probably call it method since it not quite involves steps.
Since it's not a technique. Reconnective healing is not another energy healing technique. First of all, there's no technique to it. In order to access something this comprehensive, we have to allow ourselves to completely transcend technique. By doing that, because our techniques keep us locked into different subsets of the energy that's been here. By letting go of the technique, we access the fullness of the energy, and then we receive a greater gift. The energy transcends time and moves into aspects of light and information that many of the scientists feel have not been seen or witnessed here on Earth before. So we are actually accessing the fullness of what has been here within our little bubble of the illusion of time and space. And then, as time is moving faster, as our bubble is expanding and becoming thinner, this bubble of time is actually disappearing. We're accessing what's been outside of time. So it's not old. It hasn't been here before. It's timeless. But it's here now for the first time. So the reconnective healing spectrum takes us beyond energy into light and information that allows for things very different than we tend to see with our energy healing techniques, which include healings that have a tendency to be fairly instantaneous and have a tendency to be lifelong.
Well, I would love to go a bit into the science of this, since actually in my practice, since I've become a full-time practitioner, I love this work ever since I heard you saying. It vibrated to my soul so deeply that this is truth. And in my practice I get a lot of registers of people snoring, and after the session I would tell you were asleep, and they were saying, no, I'm not asleep, I have been conscious all day. So I actually filmed some of the people, and they were like, it can't be, I was really conscious, I was not sleeping. So I know there are some studies to have done about how can it be possible for people
There's a lot of things that happen during your reconnective healing session, including remaining conscious and snoring. And a lot of people will lie there during their session, be snoring, and be aware and say, now why am I snoring? I'm not asleep. Other people will find that they stop breathing, not in a frightening way, in a very peaceful way. They just suddenly find that they are floating in a state of oneness, sort of like a silence, a timeless awareness, where nothing is moving, they're not even breathing, and there's no need to breathe. Sometimes the people might say, and get nervous, and might say, oh my God, I'm not breathing, can I breathe, can I breathe, can I breathe? And they make themselves breathe, and then they realize that they actually enjoyed being in that space of not breathing even more. There's lots of research, obviously, and to go into research is not really fascinating. I'll tell you briefly, there are studies where they cut leaves off of plants and they give them reconnective healing, and the leaves live up to 90 days without being connected to its stem, to its source. There are studies that show, 6 studies so far show that reconnective healing changes our very DNA, restructures, or as I like to say, reconnects our DNA, raises the level of light we emit, the coherence of the light, which is what the scientists attribute to these fairly instantaneous lifelong healings that reconnective healing brings about for people. Study after study after study shows how this changes our heart waves, our brain waves, how when you learn to do reconnective healing, your work as a practitioner, in scientific laboratories, your heart wave has showed up measured in that person's brain waves. But you know, the children with cerebral palsy who walk and run and play and speak normally, don't need their medications, don't have seizures, children with epilepsy who don't have seizures any longer, they don't care about the science. Neither do their parents. Science is a wonderful tool for us to begin to discover mechanisms. Some people are interested in the how and the why. I don't think we'll ever know the how or the why, but we'll get insights. Others are just thrilled with what they receive. Some people want to know how to make a perfect New York cheesecake. Some people don't care as long as they're able to eat one.
Yeah. One of the questions I still get in people that come to me is like they call and say, well, I have this disease and this disease. Can this reconnective healing help me? Or does it work with only specific diseases? One of the questions I still get in people that come to me is like they call and say, well, I have this disease and this disease. Can this reconnective healing help me? Or does it work with only specific diseases?
Well, the answer is the same for that question no matter what the disease is. Whether they're asking, does it work for cerebral palsy or epilepsy? Does it work with people who have cancer? Does it work with people who have multiple sclerosis? Does it work with people who have liver problems or kidney problems or who lose the use of an arm or a leg? The answer is always the same. It is not the health challenge, the illness, the disease that has the healing. It's the individual person. 3 people can come into you with the same diagnosis, the same set of symptoms, the same problems, and get 3 different sets of results depending on what's appropriate for them on their life course. Some of us might need our illness to give love, some to get love. Some of us may have taken on our health challenges for lessons, but maybe it's not just our own lessons. It's also for the lessons of those going through their life close to us, with us, supporting us, feeling for us. Reconnective healing does not treat someone with a specific problem or address it. You see and interact with everyone who comes to you the very same way, because you're not focused on what their problem is, and you're not trying to address their problem as far as their symptoms or their disease or health challenge by diagnosis. What you're doing as a healing practitioner is allowing them to return to a level of balance, to a vibration of light. And as they return to that state of balance, that vibration of light, anything heavier or denser than that light, which tends to include pretty much most of our health challenges, as well as physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, relationship, career challenges, these densities have very little left to hold on to. So as appropriate for that person on their life course, those densities, those challenges pretty much vibrate out of the system and fall away. And if we take home nothing else from this conversation today, understand these next 2 things, which are A, healings are just that simple. And B, anything more complicated than that, rituals, pendants, crystals, protective necklaces, those ridiculous looking pyramid hats, even wearing the proper healing clothes or jewelry, anything more complicated than that is designed to sell us something. And it's not designed solely to sell us on the product or the clothes or on the ritual. It's designed to sell us on the fear that we, in our very essence, are less than enough. It's designed to sell us on the fear that we are less than abundantly enough. And everything that we do, every action that we take, every decision that we make comes from one of 2 places. It either comes from fear, lack, limitation, the illusion of separation, the illusion of darkness, the need for control. Or it comes from love, prosperity, abundance, oneness, light, unity, freedom. And we cannot give a gift we're unwilling to receive. We cannot stand in fear protecting ourselves in a white flame, and a purple flame, and a gold flame, and a chartreuse flame, and a plaid flame, trying to shake off negative energies, spray ourselves down with alcohol, soak in apple cider vinegar baths, protect ourselves with this necklace or that necklace. We can't. Even pulling up imaginary zippers, we can not stand in that state of fear to facilitate healings that reside in love. We cannot stand in the need for control, doing technique A, B, and C, step 1, 2, and 3, bringing this percentage of the healings up from the earth and bringing that percentage of the healing energies down from the heavens, spinning this clockwise, this counterclockwise. We cannot stand in that state of control and facilitate healings that reside in freedom, the freedom that allows us to be the witness and the witnessed, the seer and the seen, the observer and the observed, and to observe without judgment. We cannot stand in lack and limitation, trying to add things to ourselves to make ourselves more. Special pendants to bring in frequencies from the Pleiades or from Sirius, special clothes or hats to bring in different vibrations and facilitate healings that reside in freedom, not control, but freedom that allows us to step into our abundance and to recognize that when we allow ourselves to simply witness, we become not even just conduits for healings, we become catalysts for healing. So we can't stand in fear and facilitate healings that reside in love. We cannot stand in lack and limitation and facilitate healings that reside in abundance. We cannot stand in the need for control, facilitate healings that reside in freedom. We cannot stand in the illusion of darkness and bring about healings that reside in light. We cannot stand in the illusion of us being separate and facilitate healings that reside in us recognizing that we are all one. And it becomes a challenge. And in overcoming the challenge, we access our own reward.
One of the other things that I know you kind of responded to this question, but I would like just short pointing it out again, is people still having this old medical model of diagnosis come and ask, well, after you have so many cases of spontaneous healings or great healings for different incurable diseases, we can say, can you guarantee a healing? I mean, does everybody receive a healing?
When people used to ask me if everyone received a healing, in the beginning I used to say, no, not everyone. I'd say it looked like about maybe 70% or so of the people received a healing, because I made the mistake of equating a healing with them getting the symptom results that they wanted, having their symptoms go away. But as I continued to do this work, I discovered that oftentimes people's healings come in the form that they want it to. Other times, their healings come in forms they haven't even dreamed of, one that the universe has designed for them. I'll give you an example. A woman came in because she had pain on one side of her face for years and years and years and years and years. Whenever there was a little breeze, someone would open or close a door too quickly or a window, it would hurt her. She had not one but 2 healing sessions with me, and the problem didn't go away. So we could say, from a limited perspective, that healing didn't work. But what she told me at the end of the second session was, even though the pain in her face didn't leave, she regained her hearing in her ear. I said, what do you mean you regained your hearing? She said, since she was a little girl, 9 years old or something, she had a fever and an infection. She lost the hearing in one of her ears. She didn't come to me for that reason. She didn't think about the hearing loss because that was what she lived with every day, so that was life as she knew it. She didn't tell me about it, so I didn't focus or put my attention on it. And yet she had the healing. She didn't have the healing she came in expecting. She had a healing that she hadn't dreamt of. Maybe there was more for her to learn from experiencing the tenderness in one side of her face. Maybe there was more for her husband to learn in how he chose to interact with her and have compassion with her as she went through that. We don't understand the mind of God. We don't understand the path that we are on. When we diagnose a problem, we're not normally getting to the root of the problem. We're normally getting to the symptoms. When we take our focus off of the end result, what we consider to be the problem, and instead focus on the process of healing, we find that the most beautiful results, the most appropriate results, are what is received by the person. We just have to get out of the way of directing or intending what we feel those results should be.
Okay. Another question that clients and people ask me is, I do a session, either be reconnective healing or reconnection. What do I do after that? Even, if I have a healing or not, that I recognize, what do I do after that? Do you have to do anything special, or do you have to feel the frequency daily?
Live your life. Go shopping, go to the movies, go to dinner with friends, do whatever you would normally do. There's nothing you need to do. This becomes you, and you become this. Just watch, observe, witness yourself sometimes if you like to go into a state of silence. I go into my state of silence when I'm driving. I'm driving, and I notice what I'm thinking. Observe yourself, and then go out and live your life. If your life means that you go to a party, go to a party. There's nothing you need to do. Just be.
So basically this goes into the consciousness of, I just get a shot of a bit of energy, and after the session that's all. But it's a process, a continuous process, you can say, right?
Healing is evolution. Watch yourself evolve.
Okay. And
you will find that the reconnection will also throw your life onto its course, its path, a path that you might not have even thought of, or a path that you're already on, if you're on the right path for you. It'll throw you onto that path even faster than you ever had in mind.
So basically, the reconnection is more than actually healing. It's more than that.
No. And yes. No. Because they're both about evolution. It's almost like different flavors of ice cream.
Okay. Well, I know you teach seminars all around the world, like this now in Ljubljana. There are about 360 people or more, and this is actually like a small seminar.
Yeah, this is a small seminar. We had closer to 1,000 people last week in Lisbon.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
And actually, do you need to have any prerequisites or background before you attend the seminar, or?
No, reconnective healing seminars are for everyone. And everyone comes. We have people who come who have backgrounds in energy healing techniques. We have people who are masters and grandmaster teachers in energy healing techniques because they recognize that it's time for them to move beyond the limitations of the techniques. We have people who are mainstream healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, physical therapists, medical researchers. And we have the mainstream world who are not involved in either end of the spectrum of healthcare. hairdressers, politicians, electricians, plumbers, judges, attorneys, kings and queens.
Okay. And would people even have, do people have to do any session of reconnection, reconnective healing before attending a seminar, or it's just
There's
optional?
nothing you need to do before you attend the seminar.
Okay.
It would be wonderful to experience reconnective healing first, because it's always good to experience the work that you're learning to do for others. You have the ability to experience it during the weekend because there are practitioners here. You could schedule sessions with them. You could experience it afterwards. But I think it's a good thing to experience something that you're learning to do with and for others. In other words, if you're going to become a dentist, it's a good thing that you spend a little time sitting in the dental chair and experiencing what it's like, so you learn and understand how you better want to interact with the people. But it's not a requirement. There are certain choices we each have to make individually.
Okay.
You probably want to read the book, The Reconnection, because the last portion of the book is a basic how-to do this work. And it's a basic how-to on a personal level. It doesn't make you a reconnective healing practitioner just from reading the book. It's like if you read a book on hairstyling, it wouldn't make you a hairstylist.
Yeah.
If you read a book on dentistry, it wouldn't make you a dentist. But after reading the book, you'll take better care of your own hair and teeth, and you'll take better care of your family's hair and teeth. But you're not a dentist or a hairstylist until you learn one-on-one. So at the seminars, it's for those people who want to really become reconnective healing practitioners, maybe even step into reconnective healing as a profession so they can be healthcare practitioners at the highest level. For that, there's a great benefit in learning one-on-one with teachers, with me, with the teaching team, because this is how we truly refine our skills and we have human interactive feedback.
Okay. After the seminars, like, do all people actually can do this work, can facilitate healings at the level that you can do it, or is there differences?
Once you learn reconnective healing, I can pretty much make you two promises. Well, let's start this way. When you come to the seminar to learn the work, here's what happens. It's usually given on a Friday night, all day Saturday, and all day Sunday. So on that Friday night, there's a 3-hour presentation. We talk about the history of the work, the theory, the philosophy, the science behind it. We give everyone a chance to feel this in your hands because it's very palpable, it's very clear, it's very
Would you be
easy.
able to demonstrate?
Yeah, it's very easy to feel. And we bring up volunteers from the audience to give live demonstrations of the healing so you can witness it. But Saturday and Sunday is very, very, very different. It's a real working seminar. I demonstrate a level of the work from the stage, and we all go to massage tables. You might stand at the head of a massage table. Someone else will be lying down on that massage table. The teaching team and I will go around. We will take your hands. We will show you how to find this, how to feel it, how to access it, how to play with it. And you will witness right in front of your very eyes the person on your table go into involuntary movements, their fingers maybe, or their feet, or their arms, or their legs jerk, or their eyes dart back and forth. We'll show you how to accentuate it, how to increase it, take them more greatly into that healing space. Then we'll go back to our chairs, discuss what we learned, a little more science, we'll question and answer, demonstrate the next level of the work from the stage, and go back and practice more on the massage tables. And by the end of this one weekend, not 6 years, not 3 months, not 2 weeks, but one weekend, I can pretty much promise you two things. Sure, A, you will be able to do anything and everything in the way of healing that I can do. And B, you will be able to do anything and everything in the way of healing that any human being anywhere on this planet can do. So, give me your hand. Open your fingers right there. Got it?
Yep.
Okay. What I do is I bring my hand in and I allow myself to feel. And notice how your fingers they're pulling in, they're curling in a little bit. I'm going to bring my other hand in. I'm going to stretch with it. And it moves your index finger a little bit more. There it goes. Let's see what else, if anything. What are you smiling at? What's it feel like?
Well, it feels like a cord from this to your hand, and it feels like something pulling on the back of my hand. And it is something tingling here in the center of my palm. And it's also a sensation that goes into the fingers, like some sort of a pulsation within my fingers.
Good. So it changes your cells, it changes your DNA, your body visibly responds to it, and sense-wise, you feel what it's like. So anyway, that's the beginning.
Wow. Okay. So I really appreciate taking this time to answer these questions for the people who are interested in healing and interested in getting to maybe a new level of healing.
Well, you know what? I think because there's only so much time to talk in an interview, for people who have questions, best thing to do is to go to the main Reconnection website. It's www.thereconnection.com. You have to include the word the, so it's thereconnection.com. When you go onto the website, in the upper right-hand area, you have an option to click it to translate into Romanian and maybe 30 some other languages. The book, The Reconnection, is already in about 39 languages. The new book, Solomon Speaks, which just came out a couple months ago, is already in about 20 some languages, so you can find it. Should be in most any main bookstore and on Amazon.com and probably in your language.
I'm sure it is. So, thank you so much again, and it was a pleasure to be here with you. So, thank you too for being with us. I hope you grow on your level and grow in your journey of healing and evolution. Thank you.